So SCI has returned to PAX. They're deciding to debut the changes coming to 1.0, and we've got some footage of what that looks like. But first, let me give a shout out to Tacit, not only for the gameplay, but he also secured a number of one of those nice ladies at the Undisputed booth. But big ups to you, Tacit. I'll leave his channel in the description below. And look, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. If you expected an entirely different game going into October, then I have some bad news for you. Throughout this footage, you can clearly see that spamming will be just as, if not more effective than it is in 0.7. Really, our only hope is that they fix desync, and if that's not the case, then I don't know what's going to happen. But on the bright side, we do have some screenshots of the DLC fighters that we'll be seeing come October. But while you check those out, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. So I did lie. Yes, I lied. I said in my last video that I was not going to be giving my stance on Undisputed until October. But after this PAX footage came out, I feel like I have no choice. All of you that claim that I'm shilling for the game or that I hate Fight Night and I'm only for Undisputed, look, I'll be honest with you. I said this already. You guys who are in early access expect a very similar game to 0.7. It must be better than 0.7 based off of what the testers are saying, but it's going to be quite similar in the online experience. Can't really speak for career mode. That's not going to be significantly improved come October either, though. That's just a guarantee. What I will say is that post-launch is some of the updates that personally I'm interested in seeing, because that's when they're really going to get to work on the game. Right now, they're just focused on getting it out, shipping it to consoles, collecting that money, etc., etc. When the game is actually out, they can't exactly afford to keep making lackluster updates and downgrading the quality of the game like they have been over the course of post Larry Holm. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give this footage the benefit of the doubt because I don't think we've seen two players who play the game habitually on the new changes yet. So, of course, it is easy to kind of write this footage off, you know, beta 2/0.1 update. A lot of people were watching that footage and saying that the game looks bad. People made the beta 2 and the 0.1 footage look as good as it looks. If we have the 0.7 gameplay that we see in most quick matches during those versions of the game, it would be just as chaotic. Of course, the animations might look more fluid, feel more fluid, but it would be just as chaotic. So with this 0.8 or potentially 0.9, because we're only about a month out now, with this footage, I don't think we're going to be seeing a huge jump come October. For you console players, however, I think you're going to be satisfied with it just based off looking at it. It's got some recognizable fighters, it's got online mode, it's got career mode. So, I mean, there's not too much to be desired for somebody who's been waiting on a boxing game for about 13 years now. For people who have been playing the early access over the past year and who have been waiting on this game since 2020, yes, there is a lot. There's a whole lot to be desired. At this point, I've said my piece. If you really want to know what October is going to look like, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the meme master.
Hi, I'm Scarp, the overly negative guy. After watching the PAX footage of what is essentially the most updated build we're aware of, you might be left a bit conflicted, because while it did show some good improvements, it also highlighted some pretty big issues. And you're probably wondering what to realistically expect on October 11th when the game finally comes out. There are countless different opinions going around about how the game will turn out, with some saying that everything will be fixed and it'll be all sunshine and rainbows, and others saying that the game is already doomed to fail. So today I'm going to look at the facts and based on that try to answer this as objectively as I possibly can. And after reviewing all the footage and info we have about full launch, I think it's safe to assume that 1.0 is ultimately going to be a better, more polished and refined version of what we have now, with more quality of life features and just a more balanced experience across the board, but with no core mechanical changes that alter how the game feels on a fundamental level. In simple words, if your biggest complaints with the game right now are exploits like body uppercut and backstep straight spam, punches not looking so fluid, damage and stamina balance, and online connectivity being whatever this is, assuming they actually improved online like they said, you're probably going to find 1.0 to be a pretty solid improvement compared to what we have now. And while it will still have its issues, cough cough, you're most likely going to enjoy it a lot more. However, if you find the game to be fundamentally lacking in deep mechanics like angles, physics-based blocking, punches while weaving, a more seamless head movement system, and all this stuff I'm too lazy to mention, or if you're mainly an offline player looking for a rich career mode experience, you're unfortunately going to find full release to be fairly lackluster. Mechanically, the game is going to be largely the same. The mechanics have improved, don't get me wrong, but they're still fundamentally the same mechanics. If you don't like the mechanics right now, as you feel like they might be too oversimplified and lacking in depth, you're most likely going to feel the same with 1.0. And while the game will receive post-launch updates for I'd hope at least a few years, with vulnerability, a reworked clinch system and career mode changes being planned already and probably being worked on right now, for full release I just wouldn't expect the core gameplay mechanics to feel particularly different. I also wouldn't expect a huge amount of content to be added. We are getting a few new fighters and fighter attires, but the quantity and quality of different activities and game modes will largely be the same. So in conclusion, while 1.0 is likely to be a decent improvement, it will still be lacking in the same aspects the game is lacking right now, as instead of adding more mechanical depth and content to fill those gaps, they decided to focus on polishing the already existing base game, which isn't inherently a bad thing, as you know they realistically just didn't have the time to do everything, but is unfortunately just how it ended up being, given that they've essentially thrown away almost 2 years of early access. As you can probably tell at this point, determining whether or not full release is gonna be good is purely dependent on what each individual values. Some people are going to absolutely love the game solely because it's a new boxy video game that offers an overall decent casual experience. Others are going to find it quite disappointing as it doesn't really innovate on the already existing formula. There's really no answer that fits all, but I hope I at least helped you figure out what to realistically expect.